Yo YouTube, what's going on? It's HIGHMMA, and today we are here to discuss the UFC and 2024 and how it's gone this year. Now, I worded that sentence really fucking stupid, but I cannot really be bothered to go back and redo this whole intro, even though I'm talking in syllables. So we're just gonna get straight into this shit, man. You know, I've just got a couple lists here. We'll probably drop a couple more lists in the next couple of days. Just some takes that I have here for you all that I think a lot of you are going to agree with if you've got some good UFC knowledge. So let's not fuck around with our dicks and our palms. Let's get straight into this shit. The first ranking that we will be making is the top 3 best champions of the year. And in the number 3 spot, we're starting off with my boy, Dricus du Plessis. You know what? I'm proud of the fucking guy. He's had a good year. He beat Strickland earlier in the year. You know, I hear people nowadays, they like to say that that shit was a robbery, even though they were fucking glazing DDP after he beat Adesanya. It's crazy how you motherfuckers switch up. But he beat Strickland. Go watch that fight back. I think it's a clear win for DDP, in my opinion. And as if that wasn't good enough, a couple months later, he goes out there and finishes Israel Adesanya. Subs him, bro. That's the first time that Adesanya has been finished, other than the Pereira finish, I'm pretty sure. I think it's the first time he's ever been submitted. I could be incorrect about that statement. But either way, great form for DDP. He's in fight camp now, you know what I mean? So that gives him a bit of a boost because, you know, Pantoja was lingering around for that number 3 spot, but the thing is, with Pantoja, you know, he beat Usyk, who was ranked like fucking 11th, and he beat Asakura, who wasn't even in the UFC. It's not that impressive, especially when you consider the fact that, you know, the Usyk fight was close. It is what it is, man, because I'm just more impressed by DDP. I feel like he's a little bit more active, you know, he's already in camp for his next fight, and, you know, he's just fucking more based. I don't care. He's taking that number 3 spot, but let's keep moving through the list to number 2, because my choice is Alex Pereira. Poetan coming in at number 2. He's had a fucking great year. He knocked out my GOAT, Salty Moore Hill, earlier this year. Let's move on from that swiftly. I don't even want to think about it, man. But then he went out to knock out Yuri Prohaska, and I love that shit at 303. All you salty Yuri fans in my comments, suck a dick, bro. Suck a dick. You're all so annoying, man. But listen, in these fights, Pereira has shown that his kickboxing is just completely unmatched. You know, in that fight with Jamal Hill, you know, there's the people that made the argument about the ref thing. I personally don't. But I feel like skill for skill, Alex showed enough that he is ahead of Jamal Hill in the kickboxing, and that was a fight that's probably never going to go to the ground. Same thing with Yuri. He just showed that technically, kickboxing-wise, he's just way ahead of Yuri. That's why he's absolutely destroyed him both of the times they fought, because that's a fight that's not necessarily going to go to the ground, and Alex Pereira obviously isn't someone that wants to go to the ground, but he doesn't have to because of the crazy knockout power. And he also had the fight with Khalil Roundtree. I get Khalil was ranked number 8th, so it doesn't necessarily boost him up to that number 1 spot in terms of champs for me, but that is still a really good win, you know what I mean? 3 wins in a year as a champ is very, very good, especially when you consider the fact that they were all brutal finishes. Really good from Alex Pereira. He's been in good form since he got to the UFC. I mean, look at it. He got KO'd by Adesanya, a personal favourite fight of mine. I think that's a really good fight if you want a good, watchable fight. But then he went up to light heavyweight and then got in there with Jan Blachowicz, one of the hardest fights in the division. So you really got to take your hat off to Alex Pereira and give him a nod, because he has done amazing this year. And if he's not making top 3 in terms of your best champs, what the fuck are you doing? Stop Kenny Okoye maxing and put some respect on Pereira's name. So I'm putting some respect on his name, and I'm putting him in number 2 for me personally. I think he's had an amazing year, and I think he's going to go on to have a decent year next year. I feel like if he fights Big Ank, he's probably going to lose. That's just my personal opinion. If Big Ank can mix in the wrestling, then I think it's going to be a long night for Alex Pereira. But if he can find that finish, that is amazing. And I will be really happy for him, because that will probably solidify him as possibly even a top 5 fighter of all time. Maybe. Who fucking knows, man? But listen, let's keep it moving. Number 1 spot, who's taking it? Ilia Topuria started off the year with his best win, being motherfucking Josh Emmett in a 5-rounder, I'm pretty sure that was. And at the end of the year, he's getting considered to be one of the top 3 featherweights of all time, knocking out the top 2 greatest featherweights of all time. He knocked out Volk earlier this year, and then he knocked out Holloway just a couple months ago. Insane form from Topuria, and I feel like skill-wise, he is the best champion at the moment. He's super well-rounded. The boxing is there. Other than maybe Islam Makhachev, that does have to be mentioned. You know, the boxing's there. The jiu-jitsu is there. He's just, he's just a force to be reckoned with, and he shows it in every fight. Genuinely, going into that Holloway fight, I'd never been so confident on a pick, and I picked Holloway to get finished when he never had been before. It just shows the confidence that you can put into Ilia Topuria, because this guy just never sells the parlay, bro. He never sells. Undefeated as well. Super impressive from a champ. I feel like that's something as well that doesn't really get mentioned enough from the fans. He's literally undefeated. Think about the amount of contenders where we're like, dude, this guy might be the next big thing, and he'll have a couple losses on his record. You know, motherfucking Carlos Prates, couple losses on the record. You know what I'm saying? You know, Tom Aspinall, even though he's not lost like that Curtis Blades fight was an injury, you know, there's a loss on the record and it's kind of recent. You don't get that with Ilia. He's just about fucking business. Similar to a Hamza Chamay, but he does have a belt. So Ilia Topuria is taking that number 1 spot. I think this is a foolproof list. You can't disagree with it. And if you are, I'm not fucking listening, bro. I'm not fucking listening. So let's get through these lists, man. Let's get through these lists. I don't know why I'm saying everything in twos, but let's keep going, because the next list that we're going to get into is my personal top 5 contenders of the year, based purely off of resume and, you know, skill of opponents. This isn't necessarily like going to be some fucking Diego Lopez glaze session. Like, he's in the top 5, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to be like, oh, Diego Lopez is so good because of the quantity. Like, yo, this motherfucker was gassing out against Dan Ige. You're not the best contender of the year. I'm going to keep it real with this list. I know there's so many other fighters that could have been put in here. Honestly, the honorable mentions list was that long, I just thought, fuck it, I'm not even making one. You'll know, like, if you want to comment and be like, oh, you didn't put Mozart, you didn't put whatever, motherfucker, you could do so. I'll agree with you. But for me personally, resume-wise, these are my top 5, starting with Renato Moicano, my favourite lightweight. If you're a long-time fan of the channel, you're gonna know this. I knew that bro was making his way into my top 5 regardless. Yo, if you're going 3-0 in the year and your name is Renato Moicano, you're making your way on HIGHMMA's list. I don't care. Getting the wins over Drew Dober, fucking, who else was there? Jalen Turner, BSD. Now, he isn't super high on the list because they're not necessarily the greatest names of all time. You know, he beat BSD after he got bitched by Poirier. You know, in that Jalen Turner fight, he did get dropped. And, you know, in the Drew Dober fight, I can't really fault him for that. But against BSD, he looked really good, you know what I mean? Like, that was a great fight. Went a lot better than I expected, even though I did pick him. I've picked him in any fight that he's gone into this year. I think he's a really good contender. Very slept on, even now when he's still getting, you know, the more of the respect he deserves. I think there's still a lot of things he can do in fucking lightweight. Honestly, crazy take here for you all. I think he beats a Gaethje. I'm just going to keep it real with you. I think he beats a Gaethje. I might be being fucking crazy, but we need to at least see him get in there with a big name, a fucking a Gaethje, Paddy, or something like that after this Dariush fight. Because honestly, I think he's going to mollywop Dariush. I think he's going to make easy work of Dariush, and it's just going to be a nice little name on his resume. Get Renato even further up there in the rankings. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to know. That didn't even make sense. But yo, you know that I love Renato, bro. This is my guy right here. Listen to my brother, yeah? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what the fuck that was, but shout out the fucking Money Podcast. I think that's what it's called. It's a funny fucking podcast. He does that shit with Gilbert Burns. I love watching it, man. I fucking love Renato Moicano. This turned into a bit of a glaze sesh. A couple failed impressions and shit. We're left lane MMA maxing right here. Let's keep on going and move swiftly through this list before I start stuttering again. Motherfucking the next fighter we're talking about is... Next up is Peter Yan. Now, he's made his way above Moicano because I feel like the two names that he beat in terms of skill are better, and also the fact that he faced less adversity in the fights. Don't get me wrong, that Song Yudong fight wasn't the easiest fight of his career. Neither was the Figgy one, but he looked really good against Figgy, and I personally think that Figueiredo is one of the best contenders. If he would have put it this way, if he would have beaten Peter Yan, I would have glazed my way into putting Figgy at the number 1 spot because I'm a huge Figueiredo fan. So, you gotta hear me out here. Peter Yan is making his way into the top 5 contenders of the year. You have to realize Peter Yan is still young, he's still got so much ahead of him, and the fact that he's gone out there and beaten Song Yudong and Figueiredo in the same year before, no title shots, no lost fights or anything. That's looking really, really good going into 2025. You know what I mean? I think what the best bet for Peter Yan is now, pick up one more win, maybe a O'Malley rematch. If he beats O'Malley, that's so fucking good for his resume, considering the fact that he arguably beat him the first time. And, it'd be good to avenge a loss. And, bro, there's even other fights on the table. I mean, the Merab Umar loser, we could see that. A Merab rematch, it wouldn't be entertaining, but it'd still be cool. Corey Sandhagen's there. I know they already fought, but there's shit on the table for Peter Yan, man. 2025 could hold amazing things. It could hold a fucking belt if he locks in. I don't think he'll win a belt. I don't think he beats an Umar. But I would love to see him have a crack at it because he's one of the best bantamweights of all time in terms of skill and in terms of resume. This motherfucker beat Aljo the first time. I don't give a shit. So, you know what? He's making it into number 4 on my list. I don't care, motherfuckers, but I don't think there needs to be much more reasoning for this shit. So I'm going to move on to who's in number 3, and that is... Yeah, I had to do it, boys. It's Diego Lopez at number 3. Upon looking back at his resume, I really am almost tempted to switch around this list again. But I feel like this is the most universally agreed upon list in terms of the top 5 contenders of the year. He put in good work. He finished Sadiq Youssef. He took Dan Ige to a bit of a smelly decision, but, he got the win. And he looked really good against Ortega. Granted, it's a bit of an old, washed-up Ortega. I mean, he's not old, but, he's had a lengthy career. But the thing is, Ortega's not the most respectable name. It could have been a fucking Yair, even though, yeah, Ortega beat Yair. Featherweight is just a confusing division like that. But I feel like, all in all, the work he's put in this year has been more than most contenders in featherweight, if not the most out of all contenders in featherweight. Diego Lopez in himself is an amazing fighter. It's just the fact that we're here comparing him with the best contenders in the UFC. You know what I mean? Having 2 decisions as opposed to 3 finishes like Alex Pereira. It's just not as good, but you have to see and respect the work he's put in. Like I said, finishing Sadiq Youssef, very nice. Getting wins against fucking Ortega and Ige that are both ranked or were both ranked. I think Ige's out of the rankings now. Is very impressive. What's the main thing I want to see next for Diego Lopez? I want to see that Movsar Evloev rematch. I feel like Movsar Evloev actually beats him. I feel like Movsar Evloev just, his striking isn't even that bad. I feel like people try and make out like he's lost on the feet. He's not. He's really good. And I just feel like grappling-wise, he's just way, way, way ahead of Diego Lopez, which we've seen, even though, yeah, he got put in some nasty spots by Diego, he managed to push through. And we've seen his striking looks good. Not too bad against Allen. It looks all right against Aljo. It looks all right against Lopez, I just feel like Evloev is mad slept on, bro. I get that he's going to decisions most fights, but look at this. Diego Lopez had 1 finish and 2 decisions this year. So let's stop just pointing fingers and accept people for who they are. Even though Evloev definitely needs to fight more. But let's see this fight next. It'd be fucking sick. Diego Lopez has had a good year. He's top 3 for me. I know it's a bit of a iffy pick, but it is what it is. I'm confident on the next one. The next fighter we are talking about is my personal favorite current welterweight. You know who it is, man. It's Carlos Prates, putting in the fucking work this year. 4 straight finishes. It's really, really impressive. Now, I get that, he hasn't necessarily beaten the best fighters, but 4 finishes is something that cannot be ignored. And, look at it. Neil Magny and Li Jingliang, aren't completely unknown. They are known fighters. Yeah, they're not ranked and they're not, dominating the division, but they're good enough to where you're absolutely chinning them in front of everyone. People respect it. Li Jingliang had never been knocked out like that before Carlos Prates. This guy is a force to be fucking reckoned with. And with 4 KOs in a year, imagine if he gets another 4 next year. That would be insane. And there's so many fights for him to go on to next. He wasn't even looking bad after that fucking Neil Magny fight. It lasted a round. He's probably not even that bad, health-wise right now. Let's give him something big. I was really rooting for the Ian Gary fight to get made. That might be a bit too fucking dreamful of me, wishful, whatever the fuck the word's meant to be. But I've got high hopes for Carlos Prates. I feel like this motherfucker's going to knock out a couple people that are getting glazed in the welterweight division. I don't really get Shara Bullet vibes from Carlos Prates in where, Shara Bullet, I feel like a fraud check may be imminent. I feel like a bot nickel win may be imminent. But with fucking Carlos Prates, I really don't see it that way. I could see him beating a fucking, like a Jeff Neal or someone like that, even maybe a JDM. That would be a sick fight. I'm not necessarily saying he's going to beat JDM. I'm just saying the fight would be close. Even if it wasn't close, it'd be a war. It wouldn't be an easy fight for JDM, ever. Carlos Prates is not an easy fight for anyone in that division, and he's going to go out there in 2025, and he's going to fucking prove that shit. That's why he's number 2 on my list. Yeah, the first 2 fucking KOs of the year were against bums, but that was at the start of his career. Everyone's knocking out bums at the start of their career. In the UFC, that is. So, you know what? Take your hat off to Carlos Prates. Big CP. He's the fucking man. I can't believe I just said that, bro. Let's move on to the number 1 contender of the year. It is Wackin Bley. I don't want to hear any fucking chirping in the comments about this take. I think this is clear-cut the best contender of the year. He started it off by knocking out Vicente Luque, a great win. Then he goes and beats Ruziboyev, literally the biggest welterweight. Great win. It was a decision, yes, but it showed that he has a wide skill set and he has a decent gas tank and he can mix it up because he mixed up the grappling in that fight against Ruziboyev, who, you know, just off first look, you would assume he's going to start grappling because of where he is in the world and all of that. Didn't matter to Wackin Bley. And as if that wasn't enough, then he goes and chins fucking Thompson and then beats Colby's face in that bad that he can't even carry on the fight. All fucking great wins, literally 3 finishes, 1 decision. Amazing fucking run that this guy is on right now. And I feel like if he fights a fucking Gary next, he wins. I feel like the only fight that he really loses is a title fight. And I feel like, you know, Bilal probably beats him. I don't know. Does Bilal beat Wackin Bley? I really don't know, man. Like, after that fucking Colby Covington fight, I really don't know what to think, because I get that Shavkat was meant to be injured against Ian Gary, but he didn't look all that good, and neither did Ian Gary. Like, they both look good, but are they Wackin Bley good? I don't fucking know, man. I don't know if I'm completely stupid for getting so behind this guy, or if I'm a fucking genius. But you know what? I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I'm gonna say that I am the fucking genius, and that Wackin Bley is the future of the welterweight division, and he's proved it all year, going from fighting like lower in the rankings to now being in the title picture in the space of 12 months is so impressive, especially when you're knocking out the likes of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, one of the best strikers in the division, and then finishing off Colby Covington, who's meant to be one of the best grapplers in the division. It just shows how well-rounded he is as a fighter, and the fact that he has the knockout power there on top of everything else as well, and he's only 30 years fucking old, man. It's so fucking good for Wackin Bley right now. And he's undefeated at welterweight as well, which is just good for his resume, considering the fact that he had a couple smelly losses at middleweight, but he's really come into his own at welterweight, and I'm super impressed with him. I think he's going to go far. Start rooting for him now, because he was the best contender of 2024, and I don't give a fuck. I'm not even changing that pick. Wackin Bley is the fucking future, bro. But let's keep moving through who I want to talk about today. Next, I'm going to be doing just my top 3 or 4 most disappointing fighters of 2024. This isn't necessarily going to be, like, purely based off resume. So, say someone's on a 3-fight loss streak and they're fucking unranked. I'm not necessarily going to point them out. I'm going to be pointing out the fighters here that I had high hopes for going into the year, and they didn't live up to them. Starting with Hamza Chamay, kind of an easy option, but I just feel like the fact that he didn't make the top contenders list because he hasn't exactly been the most active, I had to throw him in here as just someone to be keeping your eye on going into 2025, because undoubtedly he's going to get the middleweight belt and potentially a light heavyweight one. I mean, it's really crazy to think about the fact that we're so close to Hamza being a double champ and we don't even realize it. I really feel like if he gets the middleweight belt, Hamza is the kind of fighter that they're just going to say, fuck it, and throw into a fucking double champ fight. They won't care about resume. They won't care about title defenses. Hamza is a future cash cow of the UFC. He already kind of is. He went in there and absolutely destroyed Whittaker in a fight where so many people were saying he wouldn't. I get that more people than not were saying Hamza, but there was still so many that were confident that Hamza wouldn't be able to do it. Hamza is capable of nearly anything in the UFC. I really feel like it. I feel like his ceiling is becoming triple champ. I don't think he can do that. I think he can become double champ if he really locks in, but that's still going to be hard for him. But I think I was really impressed with the way that he went about that Whittaker fight, and I feel like if, you know, the Paulo Costa fight would have happened whenever that was supposed to happen, he would have walked through him. He would have walked through Nate Diaz. He would have walked through anyone, bro. He walks through anyone they can give him in that middleweight division right now, and I really, really believe that. I think that Hamza is the guy, man. I think he really is the fucking guy. So keep your eye on him going into 2025, but let's move on to the next fight I want to talk about, because he is Umar Nagilov, one of the best bantamweights on the planet right now. I don't care about resume. I don't care about the fact he's beat one ranked fighter. That one ranked fighter was Corey Sandhagen, arguably has some of the best fight IQ in the bantamweight division, and he absolutely dominated him 50-45. Go watch that fight back. Corey didn't win. Corey didn't look good. Well, he looked good, but he didn't look amazing. Umar looked good though. Umar looked that good that I personally believe that he's going to beat Merab Dvalishvili at 311. That's why I think you need to keep your eye on him going into 2025. Because he's on the first fucking pay-per-view, man, and he's fighting for a belt. So you want to be keeping your eye on this motherfucker because it's father's plan. It's Abdominalap's plan. I just butchered his name. But I don't give a fuck because I'm showing the respect. The Nurmagomedovs are some of the best fighters of all time. Umar is one of them, and he's going to prove that shit against Merab, like he proved it against Corey Sandhagen. I really feel like his skill is just next level. I don't think we've seen skill like this in bantamweight for a while, even though it is one of the most skilled divisions. I think that Umar is just a different level of fucking fighter, man. I think he's really going to prove this shit. There isn't much evidence for it. This is more just a feeling. But if you go and watch that Corey Sandhagen fight, I feel like you should be convinced enough that this is a future dog in the division. So let's fucking go. I'm rooting for Umar. But let's move on to another fighter that I want to touch on today before we close out the video. It is Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, an absolute dog in the middleweight division that is getting slept on by everyone. He went out there earlier this year, tapped out Kopylov in a fight where I was thinking Kopylov was going to win. I thought Kopylov's body kicks were going to absolutely piece up Fluffy Hernandez with his fluffy physique, but it absolutely did not. Fluffy Hernandez is a force to be reckoned with in middleweight, tapping out Kopylov, then going on to absolutely fucking brutalize Michel Pereira in a fight in the first round. You know, he took a lot of damage and just fucking rocked with that shit, man. Anthony Hernandez has got a chin, he's got durability, he has all the makings of a future top 5 contender, honestly. I think he's going to be really, really good in the division. I really want to see him fight Paulo Costa next. I feel like even a Whitaker fight would be cool. Brendan Allen, all these names are winnable fights for fucking Hernandez in my opinion. And I feel like going into 2025, these are the matchups we need to be seeing. At least one of those names I named there better be his next fight, or I'm going to be pissed off, bro, because I really feel like this guy's going to go far in middleweight. I don't know about winning any belts if Hamza's still there, but it is what it is. We'll have to see what happens. But you know what? I'm rooting for Hernandez, and I have been all year. I really fucking like this guy, and I like his personality. He's a chill dude, so you should root for him too. But that's all I can really say. Let's talk about the last fighter that I want to touch on today before I close out today's video. I don't know why I said today so many times, but let's go. It is Magomed Ankalaev. I was going to throw Jamal Hill in there and piss you all off and start glazing Hill because that is my guy right there. But I'm not going to do it to you all today. I'm going to just give some respect to Magomed Ankalaev. I feel like this is a really, really well-rounded fighter in light heavyweight, and he doesn't get enough respect because of all the Powhatan glazers, and it's really hard to support people in light heavyweight other than Yuri and Powhatan because everyone will just hate you for it. Yuri and Powhatan are quite easily two of the most annoying fighters when it comes to their fan bases, and everyone just loves them in light heavyweight and you can't root for anyone else. So I'm rooting for Big Ank because I actually like this guy. I like the fact that he's got good boxing and good wrestling, but he doesn't have to rely on his wrestling. You know, he just beat Rakic, a great kickboxer, by decision, no wrestling needed. He looks really good. He's got some great wins on his resume. You know, that fight with Jan Blachowicz as well, personally, I feel like Ankalaev edged that out. And, you know, earlier this year, if you asked me how does Ankalaev versus Pereira go, I probably would have told you that Pereira's going to knock him out. But after improving my fucking knowledge on the sport, taking a little bit more notice of Ankalaev, I've realised that Big Ank is the future fucking champ. So, suck a dick. Now, I'm going to close out today's video here because it's taken a fucking while to make. But listen, there's more content coming, boys. We've got the most disappointing fighters in the UFC of 2024 video dropping this week as well. We've got some crazy shit coming. We've got UFC fighter interviews coming on my fucking podcast soon. That's right. HIGHMMA starting a podcast. And we got fucking Cody Gibson coming on that shit, motherfucker. So we're going mainstream. We're going live. So lock in now. Show some support. But you know what I'm going to say? You don't have to like. You don't have to subscribe. Do what the fuck you want, man. But I hope you have a nice day, evening, night, whatever the fuck you're doing. And I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.